Hello everybody and welcome to the Book Nook. Today we are going to be relating songs from Jorge Rivera Herran's Epic the Musical to books, because if you're anything like me, you love associating songs with books or vice versa. And I have been obsessed with Epic the Musical since October, so 5 months ago, I don't know, I'd say about a good 4 months, I have been obsessed with Epic. And clearly, I am obsessed with books. And so I thought that it would be a great idea if I were to come on here and relate songs from Epic to books. As I previously stated, we are already restating things I previously said. So if you are not familiar with Epic the Musical, first off, when you are done with watching this video, be sure to check it out. It's basically an adaptation of the Odyssey, a musical adaptation. It's so well done. It's just a concept album. It's not like an actual musical, and it's like very well written, very, like, the music is amazing. And this is coming from someone who has a couple years of experience with both voice and piano. And obviously I have many years of experience with books. So let us get into the songs and stuff. So not all of these are going to be perfect fits for each song, or the songs will not be perfect fits for the book, however you want to look at it. And for a lot of these, I'm going to be repeating the same book. Maybe not for a lot of these, but for some of these I will be repeating some of the same books, maybe because I had just finished the book and it was still fresh on my mind, or it's just a book that I really enjoy. In case you're new here, what I do is I give kind of content warnings for each book, like whether there's spice, whether there's language, whether there is anything that anyone might have a problem with. I put that in my review, so I will be briefly stating that for some of the books, but we will not be going that deep into it. So for the first saga, the Troy saga, we have The Horse and the Infant. So I have my handy dandy laptop here that I am gonna be using just for reference because I have a terrible memory. Anyway, so with The Horse and the Infant, they are preparing for battle and also battling. And I feel like that's the main theme of this song, between Odysseus battling against Zeus and his own conscience, and also the external conflict that is going on. So I thought, what better book that would fit this song than The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is a really good book. It takes place somewhat at a war college, the first half takes place at the war college, and it's the most elite, pristine college. There isn't much language from what I remember, but there are definitely some trigger warnings, so go check it out. It is not YA, and so it just deals with so many heavy topics, and it is so good. I think I gave it 4 stars. I can't remember exactly, but in this book we follow Rin, who is she is very poor and comes from this very small town in this very small district. And she took this very important test and got into the hardest college you could possibly get into. And it follows her just through her character journey. I can't really say any more than that, because the first half is just her at college, but then there's different gods and other stuff. And also she we slowly learn that she kind of has this ability. I'm not going to say what it is anyway. And then for one of the most popular songs from Epic, we have Just a Man and then the book that I will be associating with this is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I just realized I probably should have grabbed my physical copies of the books that I own before filming this. And that doesn't matter. I'm just going to be uploading a picture right here, or wherever editor Bella decides to put this. But Scythe by Neil Shusterman, it has so many themes about how fallen humanity is. And if you don't know what it's about, we follow these two. So first off, it takes place in this world where humanity is essentially perfect, and we've conquered, like, it's sci-fi, and we have conquered everything. We've conquered war, we've conquered hunger, we've conquered disease, and humanity is basically immortal at this point. They've even like found out how to not age. And in order to keep the population under control, you have these people who are called scythed, who are ordained to kill. And like there's like this separation between the scythe and the AI that's running the government, because in this world, AI is not corrupt. And we see how different like the worlds are, how corrupt the scythedom is, and how perfect, but almost blissfully perfect, the other world is. And so yeah, Just a Man emphasizes humanity, and Scythe really deals with a lot of those themes. Anyway, Full Speed Ahead. This one was a bit of a tricky one. So what I came up with is, like, they are in full speed ahead, escaping something. They are, for lack of a better word, running from something. And one of the big themes of the book that I'm gonna talk to you about is running from your past. And I have Wheras by Nadine Brandes for that. In this book, we follow this girl, Mirth, and she has this rare ability that her tears can grant wishes. And it's very similar to Frozen, where she accidentally freezes this river, and then the river kills a bunch of people. Like, not like the river, but like her freezing the river kills a bunch of people because it's one of the main canals in the country. And this lady whose two boys are drowned, she goes and curses Mirth so that with the next tear she cries, she will die. And there's this one quote, I don't remember exactly what it says, but something like, we all have murder in our pasts. And that was what I was thinking of when I wrote Wheras for Full Speed Ahead, is she's running from her guilt. And in Full Speed Ahead, they are quite literally running from war. Then I have Open Arms. This one was an interesting one to think of because I was just thinking, like, hey, Polites is just like a very optimistic and open and loving character. And so I wanted to have a book where one of the characters is just, he's or she is just that. And so for this one, this is the first one that I have multiple books for. So first off, I have Shatter Me by Tara Mafi. There is some language in Shatter Me. And Kenji. Kenji is the funniest character you will probably meet, and I just love him so much. He's my precious baby. Polites is also my precious baby. And then also I have written for that one, Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. Because Will Herondale, Will is also very funny. He's not optimistic. Jem, his complete opposite but also best friend, is also very optimistic. Like, he has like a very positive worldview, and like he's like, hey, like, we shouldn't judge people, all of that. And that made me think of him. And for Clockwork Angel, just so you know, there are some, like, it takes place in the Shadowhunter world, and in the Shadowhunter world there are angels and demons and warlocks and werewolves and vampires and fairies, and of course Shadowhunters who fight off demons. And there isn't much language, like, I would say it's 14 plus, the overall series. Anyway, Warrior of the Mind. This one is, it shows the mentor relationship between Odysseus and Athena, who I love. And the first book that I thought of when I was planning for this video was The Poppy War, because the relationship between Odysseus and Athena is like very like nuanced and kind of complex. And that's also the same for Rin and her mentors. She has two mentors throughout the series, like her relationship with the both of them. Because yeah, I can't really explain, but like the relationships with these characters are like also very complicated. So now moving on to the Cyclops saga, we have Polyphemus, and in Polyphemus, Odysseus is like very shrewd. He, like, the way he goes about the situation at first with Polyphemus is like very shrewd, and like he is like using his battle brain. And one of the most shrewd characters in fiction, in my opinion, is Sage from The False Prince by Jennifer A. Nielsen. If you don't know what The False Prince is about, you probably don't because it's not super popular. Essentially, the king and queen of this land died. And so then there's this guy, and also their oldest son died, and then the youngest son was lost at sea. And so we follow this guy who essentially kidnaps these 4 orphan boys, basically become an imposter to the crown so that he can be a puppet king. And like if they don't succeed, then the boys who don't succeed will die. And it is such a good series and highly underrated. It's like the characters are and also like the relationships are very well written. And even though like there's not a lot going on in the plot, her writing will keep you hooked. So now we have Survive. And for this song is like very battle/plot focused. And one book that is definitely plot focused, where there is like some stuff going on with the characters, is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a very good YA mystery thriller series. In it, we follow Cassie, who has this, she's very good at reading people. And so because of that, the FBI recruits her to become part of this this FBI group that is designed for teenagers to solve cold cases, for gifted teenagers to solve cold cases. And one of the active cases that's going on at the moment, she thinks is related to how her mom died. So for content stuff, it just gets a bit dark because for sections of it, we have it in the killer's POV. And it's like, instead of like, he or she or I did this, it's like, you blah blah blah. And that, like, it's kind of unsettling, but also kind of not. Like, it's as unsettling as a YA book can be. And so now we have Remember Them, which is the perfect vengeance song. There are so many books with themes centered around like revenge and vengeance, but the one that I was thinking of when I was preparing for this video was Dance of Thieves, specifically Vow of Thieves. I'm not gonna go into what that part, the vengeance part, entails because that will have spoilers, but in this book, it's pretty YA, but like, I would say 15 plus YA. There's like definitely language and definitely mentions of sex, but like they aren't doing anything, at least on page. We follow Jace and Cassie. Jace is like this clan leader, and Cassie is like, it's been a while since I've read this series. I think I read it in like 2022, which is crazy to think about. And Cassie is like trying to find this person who is like in Jace's clan, but then something goes wrong and they are chained together. Like, it's very much forced proximity. I want to say it's slow burn, but then also it's not really slow burn. It's like, you know, like where it's like between being insta love and slow burn, which normally I don't really love insta love, but I think this was really, the romance was really good. It's a duology, so you could like finish it pretty fast. Then we have My Goodbye. And in this book, someone who is important to the main character, in this case Odysseus' life, was just left, and like they had a falling out. And what I thought of like having a falling out, what this would be for books is The Cruel Prince, specifically the end of book 2. I'm not going to go into what happens at the end of book 2, But if you don't know The Cruel Prince, we follow Jude Duarte as she is a human living in the fairy world. And again, it's been a while since I've read The Cruel Prince. I think I read it like for the first time again in 2022, like 2022, 2023, around 9th grade. And then for now we are getting into the Ocean Saga, which has one of my personal favorite songs in it. And the first song in the Ocean Saga is Storm. That wasn't sung entirely right. One of the main themes about Storm is internal turmoil, or like inner turmoil. And like most times in literature, storms, that's what they represent. And in the case of epic, they're just dealing with this loss. And now, like, yeah, there's gonna be conflict, of course, as we will see later in the saga. And one book that came to mind when thinking about inner turmoil is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. So this book, the reason I say it's for inner turmoil is because one of the main guys in this book has like this sword that's kind of possessed by a demon, and the demon is trying to take control of the guy who owns the sword. And so the guy who owns the sword keeps having to try and fight it. And so, in case you cannot tell, for content warnings, if you are a Christian, this book may not be for you. It gets kind of dark and honestly kind of disturbing. But if you like anime and like Japanese lore and mythology, you will definitely enjoy this book. So in it, we follow these two characters. I don't remember any of their names. I read it towards the end of 9th grade. Yeah, towards the end of 9th grade. And this girl has like this scroll that has part of a prayer that once called this like great god, and everybody is essentially looking for this prayer. But like if they call it again, it could lead to disaster. It could, not will, but could. And for the next two songs, Luck Runs Out and Keep Your Friends Close, there is dealing with a lot of doubt due to that inner turmoil. So in both of these songs, Odysseus' crew is doubting his choices and like even his authority at times. And two books that I thought of when I thought of doubt. First off, we have Truly Devious, which is a mystery series. It has some language where we follow this, I haven't read all of the books yet, where we follow this girl, I don't remember her name. Clearly, I'm very bad with names. And she is investigating this mystery that happened at her school, like almost, like I'd say about 80 years in the past. And it's dual timelines. It's the perfect fall read. Don't read it any other time outside of fall. And then we also have, for more doubt, The Cruel Prince. Because one of the things about the fairies in the world of The Cruel Prince, and just like in general, but especially in the world of The Cruel Prince, is they literally cannot lie, but they are very, very good at twisting the truth. And so we don't know when they're being completely honest and when they're like being deceitful. I'm sure it does, but if that doesn't, please explain in the comment section down below. Thank you. And for the next song, we have Ruthlessness is Mercy Upon Ourselves. We have Shadow and Bone for Ruthlessness and also Scythe. So honestly, for Lee Bardugo, Six of Crows would be better for Ruthlessness, but I feel like Ruthlessness is good for the Darkling in particular, and also Kaz Breckers. If you enjoy Ruthlessness, then read Lee Bardugo. I have not read King of Scars, so don't entirely go off of me on that. In Shadow and Bone, we follow this girl, Alina, who finds out she has like this power and like to like control light. And so she is recruited by the government to train. And like in this world, there are Grisha, there's the normal people, and then there are the Grisha, and Grisha have powers, and so she is sent to train with the Grisha. And the Darkling is one of our main male characters, and his ability is to control shadow. And yeah, there's some parts especially in book 3 where he is ruthless. And then in Six of Crows, we follow this group of thieves, teenage thieves, who are geniuses, especially Kaz. Kaz is a criminal mastermind. And not like the criminal masterminds we see in like the movies where like they're dumb. No, Kaz is very smart. Like, I am his age. How is he that much smarter than me, but then also that dumb when it comes to romance? And he is bent on revenge for something that happened in his past. Like, yeah, the dude is ruthless. And then I also have Scythe for ruthlessness because of something that happens towards the end of book 1, where Rowan, and also a little bit of Goddard, who does not deserve the decency of a name. And that's not a spoiler, we don't like him throughout the entire book. Like, no, I just got the chills. Anyway, yeah. So for ruthlessness, we have Shadow and Bone, Scythe, and Six of Crows. Also, Six of Crows does have a gay couple if you have anything against that. So now we enter the Circe saga. So for the entire Circe saga, this is a book that I have not read, but from what I hear, I would recommend, and my friend has read it and it's one of her favorite books, is Circe by Madeline Miller. And in this we follow Circe, and from what I know, it's like kind of her backstory as to how she became who she is. That's what all backstories are, but yeah, it's how she became who she is. And yeah, this, like, first couple times listening to Epic, this was definitely one of my favorite sagas. It still is, because I love Wouldn't You Like. Yeah, I love Wouldn't You Like. And Hermes. Anyway, so we have first Puppeteer. And this is centered around someone who is in control, who has all the power and all the control. And this made me think of Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Specifically the character of Legend, because he's literally the one in control of Caraval, and he's the one who's like, when I think of Puppeteer, I imagine just like this chess game, and then there's like the one player who's controlling all of the chess pieces. And that is also Legend. He is the one who's controlling everybody's actions, and maybe not everybody's actions, but like a lot of the things that are going on. Of course the characters have their own choices, but he is the one who's causing all of the external influences. And then I have Wouldn't You Like a Taste of the Power? Wouldn't you like to use more than words? Thank you to that very amazing cover of Wouldn't You Like. And this one was a little bit tricky to think of. So for Wouldn't You Like, what is going on in this song is an offering of power, an offering of a chance to do something Odysseus cannot do. And this made me think of something that happened in the middle of Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This is criminally underrated. This has become one of my favorite all-time series. It's a trilogy. I've only read book 2, but book 3 is also going to be amazing because book 2 ruined me. Yeah, it ruined me. It's one of my favorite series. And we follow Tizana, who is an escaped slave slash prostitute. And she has entered this country where she is a person who has powers, and they have these places like for these people to train, government sanctioned and all of that kind of. And so she goes there looking for help because she wants to free the other slaves who were with her, because there were like hundreds of slaves, and that's all I'm gonna say. And then also her trainer is grumpy, and he has a dark past, and he loves gardening, and I love him so much. If you have not read Daughter of No Worlds, please go read it. It is so good. Criminally underrated. And now we have Done For, which is controlling. And I have ACOTAR book 1 and 2 in this because one of the main guys, I'm not going to say who, is very controlling and very like, ugh. But if you have been living under a rock these past many years, in this series we follow Feyre, who is a huntress and her family is dirt poor. And she is out in the woods one day and she kills a wolf, and the wolf turns out to be a fairy. So this guy, Tamlin, he comes in and essentially kidnaps her and takes her to his palace in the Fey world. That's all I'm really gonna say, but the reason I picked this for Dunfor is because Dunfor, at like the backdrop of it, is like a battle for control, a battle of Odysseus wanting to control and Circe wanting to control. And that's what kind of like one of the characters in the series just wants all the control, all of it. And especially romantically. You know who I'm talking about if you've read the series. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it much more. And on the same lane, we have there are other ways. There are other ways of persuasion. There are other modes of control. There are other means of deceit. There's a final road. Yeah. And in the song, Circe is trying to seduce Odysseus, but that is really her trying to gain the power. And I don't know why, but this reminds me of the end of ACOTAR with Rhys giving Feyre the tattoo. Oh, for content stuff, for both Daughter of No Worlds and ACOTAR, both of them are adult series. Daughter of No Worlds has some language, it isn't too heavy. Book 1 has one sex scene, but it doesn't last too long. I listened to the audiobook, and in the audiobook it was like 3 minutes, so not super long at all. It gets more in book 2, and then I'd assume there's going to be more in book 3. And then, as mentioned, it does deal with some heavy topics, such as slavery and human trafficking, and then war, and yeah. And then also ACOTAR. The first book is pretty much okay until you get till like the last 25%. Then it gets kind of dark. At least it was dark when I first read it. But then at the time, I had really only read The Hunger Games and Red Queen. So yay! Anyway, also, you probably know this, but they do get spicy. Now we are going into one of my all-time favorite sagas, the Underworld saga. So, I love all of these songs. I could not choose a favorite out of any of them except maybe No Longer You, but that's probably because it's one of my favorite songs in Epic. First off, we have the Underworld, and in this we have a person who is haunted by their past. And here we have, yet again, a court of mist and fury, because we see constantly throughout this book in particular, but then also in the next book, just like people's pasts and like how much the past affects the now, if that makes that much sense. Then we also have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, because in the last book, she is traumatized by all of the things that has happened in books 1 and 2. I feel really sorry for Pip. Well, we have No Longer You. I could go really broad and say prophecy, which I did. There are so many books that are central around a prophecy. One of them that I was thinking of that won't have spoilers at all is Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus, because both of them are centered around prophecy. We have first the prophecy that is surrounding Percy, and then the prophecy that is surrounding the Seven. Yeah, these two books are surrounded with prophecy. And now we have Monster! This showcases a severe character change within Odysseus' life, and I would say this overall musical is like pretty character focused, but like of course there's like plot. Like the plot is like very good, but then also it delves deeper into the characters rather than the plot. And so yeah, there's a severe character change within this Underworld saga. And so the two books that I thought of that would relate to this is any book that I have read by R.F. Kuang. I have read all of them except obviously the release that's coming in August, and the last two books in the Poppy War trilogy. And her books are definitely like while they have a very good amount of plot, they do delve deep into characters and character development, which is probably why I like her and why I will continue reading her books. Sorry. And I don't want to go much into it because I already talked about the Poppy War, but I would say my favorite book of hers would be Babel, which was really good. I give it 4.5 stars only because there were a couple chapters where I was bored, and like that's it. And the main character goes through, okay, all of her books are adult, but this is like the least adult of them. There's definitely some, mainly because of like there's talks about like drugs and the effect it has on a country, in this case China in the 1800s. And well, in Yellowface, which I've also read by her, there's definitely a lot of language. That's like the main issue with Yellowface. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Oh, also, for Monster, I have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I already went into what Scythe is about, so we don't need to talk much about it. And I'm going to take a break, get some more water, go to the bathroom because I've been filming for about an hour now.